You ever climb behind the wheel of a truck, glance at the spec sheet beforehand, and think absolutely nothing has changed, only to pull out of the lot and feel like you are driving something completely different? The numbers match what you read. The engine name is the same. The brochure looks identical to last year. But the moment you press the throttle, something has shifted. Response feels cleaner. Power arrives exactly where you need it in real-world driving. The truck just works better. That is precisely what Ford has pulled off with the 2026 5.0-liter V8, and most buyers are going to walk right past it without understanding what changed. On paper, nothing screams revolution. Ford is still calling it the 5.0. The F-150 still advertises 400 horsepower and 410 pound-feet of torque. Skim the brochure, and it reads like the same Coyote that has been under that hood for years. The EcoBoost still looks like the sharper, more modern, more capable choice. That has been the story for a long time, except Ford just quietly dismantled that narrative. Because the real story for 2026 is not about displacement or peak output, or any number printed on a window sticker. It is about where the torque shows up, how it gets delivered, how the transmission works with it, and what all of that does to your fuel costs, maintenance load, and resale position 5 years down the road. Ford did not rebuild the 5.0 to win a brochure war. They rebuilt it to win real-world ownership. In doing so, they addressed the three things that kept buyers from checking the V8 box: weak mid-range pull compared to EcoBoost, fuel economy concerns in actual driving, and long-term ownership complexity. First, let us name the real problem that held the 5.0 back. Call it peak number thinking. For over a decade, Ford and every other truck brand trained buyers to shop in peaks. Peak horsepower, peak torque, peak tow rating, highest number wins. That framework handed the EcoBoost V6 its dominance. On a spec sheet, it looked untouchable. Massive torque figures, enormous tow ratings, and better fuel economy numbers sitting right on the sticker. The naturally aspirated 5.0 got pushed into the corner as the sound and nostalgia option. By 2026, Ford is quietly acknowledging something important. That was the wrong competition to enter. Real trucks do not live at peak RPM. They live between 2,000 and 3,500 RPM. They live under partial load, on grades, in heat, pulling trailers into headwinds, sitting in stop and go traffic. In those situations, torque delivery, thermal management, and transmission behavior matter far more than any single peak number. The new 5.0 is not chasing peaks. It is about usable torque, predictable pull, and lower mechanical stress across the entire ownership window. So what did Ford actually change? They did not scrap the Coyote. They doubled down on it. The 2026 F-150 still shows 400 horsepower and 410 pound-feet on the spec sheet. But dealer materials and internal documentation point towards something specific: refined torque delivery and genuine fuel efficiency gains. In truck language, that means a fuller mid-range torque curve instead of just top-end power, updated calibration that stops the engine from lugging for fake economy numbers and then dumping fuel to protect components, and improved thermal and timing control that keeps the engine running near its efficiency sweet spot in normal driving. This is not theoretical. Look at the Mustang. The same basic 5.0 architecture now produces 486 horsepower in the Mustang GT and 500 horsepower in the Dark Horse, with upgraded internals and cooling. Ford is still pouring serious development money into this engine. In truck form, the 5.0 is deliberately tuned well below that ceiling, not because the architecture is weak, but because Ford wants lower stress per horsepower, better heat control under sustained load, more knock resistance in hot weather, and a longer service life under towing conditions. The 2026 5.0 is not a new engine. It is a smarter one. Now compare the two powertrains honestly. The 2026 F-150 lineup gives you a 5.0 V8 at 400 horsepower and 410 pound-feet, a 3.5 EcoBoost at 400 horsepower and 500 pound-feet, and a 3.5 PowerBoost Hybrid at 430 horsepower and 570 pound-feet. Stop there, and EcoBoost wins. Same horsepower, more torque, higher tow ratings. But here is what Ford's own data is surfacing about actually owning these engines. EcoBoost torque hits early and hard, but but sustaining that output under real load relies on boost enrichment and aggressive thermal management. When you tow uphill or into heat, the engine often runs richer to protect itself. That is real power, but it carries a cost. Fuel economy drops sharply under load. Oil works harder. Heat stacks up fast. The 2026 5.0's revised torque curve delivers honest, consistent torque between 2,000 and 3,500 RPM without relying on constant enrichment. You give up the peak headline number, but you gain predictability across the range most owners actually live in 6,000 to 8,000 pounds. That matters more than peak twist on a spec sheet. Real-world fuel economy tells a similar story. Early 2026 figures show the 5.0 at 16 city and 24 highway against EcoBoost at 16 to 17 city and 24 to 25 highway. On paper, EcoBoost wins by roughly 1 mile per gallon. In actual mixed towing use, that gap often disappears because the naturally aspirated engine does not spend nearly as much time in enrichment mode. The complexity picture rounds out the comparison. EcoBoost brings turbos, intercoolers, plumbing, and aggressive calibration demands. Under ideal conditions, with proper maintenance, it performs brilliantly. When maintenance slips or use gets heavy, the exposure grows. The 5.0 is simpler. No turbos, less plumbing, a more straightforward thermal picture. The 2026 calibration work is designed to make that simplicity count. Run the 5-year math. At 15,000 miles per year, with fuel at $3.75 per gallon, a 3.5 EcoBoost averaging 18 combined mpg costs roughly $15,600 in fuel over 5 years. A 5.0 averaging 17 combined mpg costs roughly $16,500. The difference is around $900 across 5 years. Factor in turbo-related maintenance risk, heat-related wear, and long-term resale perception, and the math shifts dramatically toward the V8. One more change for 2026 that deserves attention is the 10-speed transmission calibration, which now finally matches the 5.0's torque map. Earlier pairings of that gearbox with the V8 felt genuinely awkward. Gear hunting, lugging, poor low-speed behavior. The transmission was originally tuned around EcoBoost torque characteristics and simply carried over. The 2026 recalibration is built specifically around the updated V8 torque delivery. Fewer unnecessary shifts, smarter grade logic, better lockup behavior, and less heat buildup under sustained load. That single change alone transforms what the V8 feels like in daily driving and on the highway with a trailer. Choose the 5.0 if you plan to keep the truck 8 to 10 years. You regularly tow between 6,000 and 9,000 pounds. You value simpler engine architecture, and long-term resale matters to you. Stick with EcoBoost if you tow near maximum capacity constantly, trade every few years, and want the highest peak torque available. To get the most from the 5.0, spec the right axle ratio, change oil every 5,000 miles when towing, keep the cooling stack clean, use tow haul mode properly, and do not oversize tires without retuning the drivetrain. Do all of that, and the 5.0 becomes what it always should have been, the default long-term truck engine. Ford did not rebuild the 5.0 to sell nostalgia. They rebuilt it because the numbers finally favor the V8 when you look at the ones that actually matter. Peak horsepower stayed exactly the same. Everything underneath it changed.